and before their tennis lesson, they would stop in to get care for me. And I would report to them, there's more or less spinal cord tension in the body, more or less subluxated, what areas were affected, etc. When they came in the next visit, they were laughing about something. I said, what is it? They said, we just realized a pattern. You said we should look at patterns between our spine and our life. Every time when you said to us that our spines individually were more messed up or more subluxated, each time we made love with our husbands between the time I saw you and this time. And we started realizing that our husbands, their spines and nervous systems are messed up, and in a point of intimacy, rather than feel supported, we're getting more defensive. So we collectively told our husbands, no more sex, we're closing shop until you start getting the chiropractic care. Well, they weren't very happy about that, as you can imagine. Well, the first husband came in after 1 week. The second, 2 weeks. The third one, Bob, came in, I think about 3.5 weeks later. And he wasn't too thrilled. On his history, I asked you about the physical, emotional, and chemical things that led you to the point in your life. I would use that as a means of helping them understand how a difficult birth could lead to subluxations, how family patterns could lead to patterns that are locked in by subluxation. So it's also a great educational process. Everything that had to deal with emotion, he put a slash down line, down the whole line, and wrote DNA. Does not apply. None of it applied. He even talked to me. I asked him when I checked his spine. I said, what happened X number of years ago? Nothing. I said, do you still have your parents? No, I lost my mother. When? At this particular point in time. He said to me, but I didn't even cry at a funeral. I still don't cry. I don't cry because men don't cry like that, things like that. So I realized where he was at. Well, Bob really was difficult in the office. I mean, he was the operational definition of subluxation. I would take care of lots of children. On the lunch break, right after the lunch break ended, I would have the parents bring the kids in after school. So around 3 to 4 o'clock, I take care of the children because that would be a priority in the practice. And he would then sometimes bring his kids in for care. And he would say the most horrible thing. One woman had twins, and they brought the twins in right from the hospital to get adjusted. And he said, twins, will someone please put a plastic bag over the head? We have enough kids in the world. I mean, he was nasty. I made a joke of it, that if someone wrote a check, it probably would bounce if it was there. If it was a radio those days, it was like tubes. If a music station was on, it would static. I mean, he was such a force of disruption in a destructive way. Well, as he starts getting care, he starts changing. And he actually starts telling jokes. They weren't funny, but they were an attempt. And he started hanging out, talking to people. He started petting the dogs or the cats, or dogs or cats in the office. And one day, I spoke to one of my friends, Dr. Stanley Alpert. I shared his office, and he was one of my mentors. He practiced 20-some-odd years more than I was in practice. I said, Stanley, how do you get across to someone whose spine is changing, that's life is changing, that's personality is changing, they're improving? Every day he says, no, doc, it still hurts here, my back's the same, no difference. He thought about it. He says, does he have children? I said, yeah, he has a son, Tommy. How old is he? Tommy was 7 and 10 years old. I don't remember the exact age, but somewhere in that range. He said, next time when does he get adjusted? I said, yes, next time Tommy's here, ask Tommy what he likes better about his father while his father's in the room. I said, okay. So it just so happened the next time, this man, Bob, asked if he'd come in just before the lunch break, just before the kids come in on lunch break, to practice magic tricks to show the kids. I mean, this is a transformed person, but nope, I'm still the same, doc, it hurts. So he came in. So I said, Tommy, while the father was there in the adjusting room, tell me, what do you like best about Daddy since he's getting adjusted? And he paused. He took his hat, he rearranged it. He took his chewing gum, he stretched out of his mouth, and he rearranged his package. And what I said, I come from New York, and this is just the way it is. You ask a guy from New York, even street directions, before they ask, you have to make sure all the equipment's there before they answer. Oh, yeah. So he did that. He went, oh, yeah, this is about Dad. He looked at me right in the face, and he said, Dr. Donnie, since Dad's coming here, it's much more pleasant. He stopped hitting me, and he stopped punching Mommy in the face. Whoa. the father pulled the son to him and hugged him and started crying. This was like a Disney moment. I could just see Bambi going outside, a rainbow outside, all the pixies and fairies and angels around. It was just a magical, magical moment. I made a decision. I made a decision shortly after that I would never again allow the presence or absence of a symptom to determine if a person was healthy or not. Because symptoms occur when there's not enough energy on the way to getting well and on the way to getting sick. Anytime the body needs to change. Anytime it has to jump to the next level, there may be symptoms. And at that point, if I said he reached maximum benefit of care, what would have happened to Tommy? Future generations. What happened to the whole family dynamic? They went and the wife had another child. It's a big difference. So this changed my direction. And I said, I'm going to have to eventually determine outcomes to assess if a person's well or not. The next story involves Padre Eligio, one of my heroes, a Franciscan priest in Italy, who about 5 decades ago went to the Italian government and said, give me your drug addicts and people who have lost their way, and give me an abandoned monastery, and I will help rebuild them both without taking money from the government or from the kids. He's been an agent of peace. He's an agent of global change. About 50 communities have been established. This extraordinary man also helped rebuild the Angelicum Center. It was like La Scala in Italy. It was an opera center and a major center in Italy. It was being refurbished. He had his boys redo the seats and the whole center. And he was opening it up, Angelicum, as a place for where people can take humanity and bring it up to match the level of technology, because the technology and humanity must be matched. So with the center, he was opening the center. At that place was the mayor of Milan, major leaders, movers and shakers in Italy at this major event. He asked me to please speak. The night before, he said, Donald, I'd like you to speak. I said, on what? I'd like you to speak on the ultimate benefit of healthcare and how it has to be, what outcome we want to see. So I spoke for a few minutes, and I said people used to try to get rid of evil spirits to get rid of disease, because they believe evil spirits cause disease. They used to take blood out to get the evil spirits out. Then people gave different herbs and different substances that would almost kill someone, and just before they died, the evil spirits would leave. Then they said these things called germs that can't be seen are the evil source of it. And now stress or viruses or things that are blamed. And most often, the most serious illnesses, the same story evolves. How do we shake the body to almost killing it? And then hopefully the evil spirits will leave. The story may be different, the concept is still the same. And I say, after all these years of treating disease, it seems that the more often disease is treated in different countries, the sicker people are. I said, what's the objective? The objective is to help a person survive. And that's a great gift. But when used all the time, it's not such a gift. I said, what if the objective of care was for people to be more compassionate, to be more joyous, to know their gifts, to bring their gifts, to light other people up? What if the objective of the healthcare system was for a person to be an agent of helping other people be more joyous and transforming, creating change, and live together more wonderfully? And then you'd find out that virtually every disease treatment fails. So I encourage all types of doctors to put in their systems that the person's life goes to a higher order, and eventually that person is a greater expression of what humanity to be. Because it's impossible to have one sick family member without a whole family member. It's impossible to have one drug addict without the whole family being ill. It's impossible to have one individual being ill without a society being ill. And basically, the whole society and humanity will change as we put this in the basic gig, and that is what's happening with a person's life. This leads to the concept of increasing or advancing, empowering human resourcefulness. And the link between human resourcefulness and personal development is that link that reorganizational healing lives at. And the Association of Reorganizational Healing Practice has as its tagline, empowering human resourcefulness. All of our systems are based upon producing the results, having the outcomes that the system is organized in a high level of complexity, and the patient's self-reported outcomes that the life is also shifting. And now, it's up to you to create story time in your office.